Say something again.
Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing. Can you hear me?
I have to change the output. Hold on. These young children are teaching me what to do. Not children, adults. Okay, what do I do? Try this one. All right. Try now.
Yes,
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
Yay!
bro, they should just raise
Okay.
the roof right now.
So, hi. These are my two favorite people other than my children and my husband. In the whole wide world.
Is this your first time?
Doing Zoom with them? Yes, but I've met them in person. So part of this chapter is about due process, and Dara and Thaisan are going to talk about their experience as well as due process and how it was for them after they introduce themselves. Floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. My name is Dara. I was incarcerated at the age of 19 to a life without the possibility of parole sentence. I served about 20 years in prison. I was just recently released in 2022. I was granted with a beautiful blessing from Governor Gavin Newsom of a commutation, and that's how my life without parole sentence was reduced.
Hi, everybody. My name is Thaisan. Similar to Dara's story, I was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole as well. I was 20 years old at the time, and had it not been for a lightning strike of a blessing from Governor Brown of California, I would not have been able to come home. My sentence was commuted from life without parole to 18 years to life. And I just want to emphasize, a commutation is not a, get out of jail free card. What a commutation is, you know, it's saying you have the opportunity to present yourself to the Board of Parole hearings to demonstrate and show how much you have changed, and um, uh, those things are shown through the work that you do for yourself, and for your community while you're incarcerated. And also, I'm honored to, and I know I can speak for Dara as well. We're very honored to be in your class today.
Honored to have you here. So if either one of you want to speak a little bit about your experience with punishment and due process and what that was like, and then kind of speak to how you are trying to make a positive change now in your communities. I don't know if either one of you want to go first. And then if you all want to think about any questions you'd like to ask, they are very open about their experiences, and are happy to answer any questions. I've asked them both some pretty telling questions. So
Never
go
dumb
ahead.
questions.
Go ahead. Whoever wants to start
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, no, never dumb questions, Katie. Great questions as always. Yeah, I think for me, my experience with the justice system was something that was very alien to me. I wasn't incarcerated as a juvenile. I had a couple stops with law for stealing, but I never actually was incarcerated. So my first time actually sitting in a courtroom like that um was for the a life without parole type of case, and it was extremely alien. I didn't know what was going on. Um, I I felt numb. I felt like I didn't know any of my rights, at the time, and it just made me kind of like disengage from it. So I didn't even care at that point. Um, so as time went on and I was incarcerated, um, the system that's inside of the prison walls is just the same. A lot of it is very foreign. A lot of it is, you know, language that you don't understand. Especially for me, I dropped out in the ninth grade, so I really couldn't comprehend anything that they were telling me when it came to rules and regulations. And like when you first go inside, they give you this book. It's called a Title 15. They give you that with like your blanket, your sheets, some like linen. And that's their way of saying like those are the rules. Read it. And many of the people that are incarcerated, you know, have a seventh grade, maybe fifth grade reading level. So they can't comprehend that, you know. So yeah, that was kind of my experience a little bit of how I felt when it came to um the justice system, and I'll let Thaisan speak to it some.
Yeah, in terms of due process, you know, I was arrested a few times as a juvenile, and you know, just you know, in those interactions, I felt very helpless because I didn't I didn't have anybody kind of walk me through that, and what my rights were. I wasn't afforded, um, you know, the ability to have my parent there, or anybody, like a family member, to kind of protect me from, some of the things um, that might have been done to me in a unethical way, if you will. Um, and it was in I think back to what Katie was talking. I'm sorry, Professor.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna be
Okay, you
informal.
can call me Katie.
I think back to what Katie was saying to you guys earlier in the class about how you felt, when you were being reprimanded or whatnot in class, and that's how I felt. It was reminiscent of me getting in trouble in school, where um, my behavior would be highlighted in front of an audience of people, which made me, inside shrink even more. And I understand, everybody reacts to adversity, acts to, um, you know, um, reprimands differently, and that's how I reacted. I reacted in a very embarrassed, shameful way, and when I felt those those things going on internally, I didn't know how to express it, and I learned how to express it in a very negative way. I learned how to express it by continuing on with the sorts of behavior that got me in trouble in the first place. And those kinds of behavior just escalated into, you know, um, delinquency and criminality. And that's what got me eventually down that path of, you know, uh, committing crimes and getting in trouble with, my run-ins with the legal system as a juvenile, and eventually, um, you know, uh, committing a horrible crime that got me a life without parole sentence.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm gonna open it up. I don't know if either one of you, if you'd rather have questions now and then talk a little bit about what you're doing now and how you are change makers, or if you want to have questions now or speak a little bit about what you're doing now first. What do
I
you want to
would
do first?
I would love to engage the class. I'm
Okay.
sure they have lots of questions, and I encourage you guys. to ask any question that's on your mind. Like Dara said on the onset, um, there are no silly questions. Like, I think for us, we like to be educated ourselves. We know how valuable knowledge is. I think there's a lot of things that you guys can educate us on. As it can be a two-way street here. So we really do encourage you guys, ask as many questions as you like.
BJ, Evan, David. So go ahead, BJ.
So my first question is, when I was younger, I did get in trouble a lot, and I did get you know, arrested, and I did have a lot of juvenile delinquency, like things happened when I was younger. But I was telling Professor um earlier, environment was a big factor, consciously, because I feel like as soon as I switched my environment, I started focusing on better things. So do you feel like that's a big thing for younger people?
Yeah,
And
thank you for that. And thank you for your vulnerability and honesty with your history of juvenile delinquency. Yes, absolutely. I do believe environment plays a huge part in it. Um, Unfortunately, a lot of the folks that are incarcerated come from a lower class background. Um, and as with my work today, I work for Boyle Heights Arts Conservatory, where we go into the juvenile camps, and we offer a program in there that pays the kids like $20 an hour to learn studio and stage concert venue setups. And then when they come home, they're offered 200 hours of internship with our program. Um, yeah, it's a great program. Kids are making money before they come out. They continue to make money when they come out. Then they have mentorship and people around them when they come to work. Our biggest issue is a lot of these kids are living in their neighborhoods from the gangs that are from. And that's one of the hardest things that we combat, is because once they do, their 6 to 8 hours with us, they go back home, and some of their parents are gang members, some of their siblings are gang members. The environment is extremely toxic. So absolutely, environment plays a huge role in it. And though there are people that, can make it through that, the ratio is not is not it's not good. So
yeah, I appreciate that question as well. I agree with Dara, and I think some of the things that we're able to combat those things, like the environmental things that you speak about, is just surrounding those that are at risk with like that support system. You know, uh, it is an uphill battle where you have, parents and siblings that might be a part of that gang culture or that criminal culture. But, when we're able to show, um, people that this world, because when I was part of a gang, like that world was the universe to me. But until I, got educated and when I was exposed to different ways of living or different ways of reality, I it it made me broaden my horizon and say, oh wow, I didn't know there was something outside of this. And mind you, I was already incarcerated with a life without parole sentence. So my world was, concrete and barbed wires. And when higher education was introduced to the carceral system, I was able to, see myself beyond the identity of a prisoner. And I think, when we're able to do that to young people at an early age, it really helps curve that, that pathway towards, making bad decisions and, committing crimes or whatever the case may be that will, get them tangled up in the legal system.
Kevin,
Hopefully, first question is, what did you guys do that got you that many like life to parole in prison? And the second one is, hopefully I'm also saying this right, Mr. Tyson, you talked earlier about how you were in and out of prison when you were a juvenile.
Can I ask y'all something, a favor real quick? I noticed that when Katie was in that corner, I can hear the audio way better.
which corner? This corner where I am? This corner? This corner?
No, the other corner where you're at.
Man, why you make me walk back and forth?
Right.
This
Like
corner?
is there a mic somewhere right there or
There's
something?
mics
Because
on top of all their tables. Can you hear me
Oh,
better now?
but right there
Yes.
is like pristine. Right there is
Alright.
pristine.
So
So
she
if
asked two
whoever's
questions. She
Okay.
said, if it's not too, first of all, she called you Mr. Tyson, which I thought was hilarious. But anyway,
thank you.
first she asked, Heaven asked, if it's not too personal to share what your conviction was for life without parole, what the crime was. And second question was, Tyson, for you, you said you were in and out of prison when you were juvenile, and what made you continue down the path of, and why didn't you stop?
Oh, gotcha. The horrible crime that I committed was the crime of taking somebody's life. And not a day goes by that, I don't think about the person who I took away from this world, wherein, I have, the luxury of being able to, see my family, and my family is able to see me. And even when I was incarcerated, they still knew like I existed in this world, as opposed to his family, knowing that, he only exists in their memories. So, with that being said, and I think I can speak for Dara in this regard too, the way we live our lives now is to honor, the lives of those that we impacted, so negatively and so traumatically. And I think this is going to be a hard like transition to the next question because of, the heaviness of, speaking about taking somebody's life. But I'll try to do it as graceful as possible. When I was, you know, young and continuing my path of criminality, I did it because I was so entrenched in um, the gang that I was a part of. They were my family. I felt so disconnected to my own family. I felt so disconnected to, you know, not the students, but the teachers and my peers at school, because those were the two environments that I existed in the most, was at home and at school. And at home, I didn't feel connected to my parents, and they were dealing with their own issues. They're survivors of a genocide, something that as a young person I didn't understand. I didn't know like they were battling all this other trauma, and that trauma surfaced in my household, you know, through abuse. And I just thought, oh, I'm a worthless son. I'm no I'm good for nothing. And so, with that mindset going into school, you know, being, racially bullied, having some teachers kind of point out my inadequacies that just reinforced what I thought, I was as a son, in my household. And I gravitated towards, that gang life. And it wasn't even a gang life initially. It was just other kids that were racially bullied who just trauma bonded with each other. And all it took was, one or two of us to say, you know what? We need to get together and start, chasing those guys that are chasing us. And that's what we did. And once somebody led the charge, we felt empowered. I mean, as weird as that sounds, we felt empowered that we were quote unquote protecting ourselves. And, that definition of protecting ourselves, you know, um, we started to manipulate that definition to, okay, protecting ourselves, it can mean taking initiative to, exercise violence on our quote unquote enemies, you know, and I think that's the slippery slope like we get into when we don't have anybody to check or balance us, is that when we, you know, have like these concepts that we like hold, dear to, and nobody is like kind of like checking us on what it is that we believe, then we're gonna run with it. Well, I did, I ran with it, and I was like, oh, um, you know, um, I justified all my behavior. Oh, I need to rob this guy because he's from a different gang. So it's not really robbery, I'm just being a good gang member for my gang, if that makes sense. I know it doesn't make sense, but when I was in that mind state, I made everything make sense to me because I just wanted to tell myself this is an acceptable behavior. And what helped me change, um, you know, and you know, this is a thing that I'm very, very not proud of. You know, not only did I take, you know, somebody's life, but, you know, I dragged along my brothers, to committing this crime with me. And, you know, it took like over a decade for me to like face like that truth and to face like, man, what kind of brother are you, Tyson? Like, you call this being a big brother? Like, you legit took your brothers to commit a crime, and now you guys all have life without parole. And I think once I started to face that truth, everything else that came my way in terms of, self-help programs and higher education, I started to let that into my life. And once those things came into my life, it helped me unpack, all the things that, I used to believe in, and then, embrace my truer self of, wanting to serve my community, wanting to, live a wholesome life. And I will pass it on to Dara because I feel like I'm talking too much. I apologize.
No, never, bro. Yeah, I think I mean, let's start off with the first one for me. Yes, I took the life of someone, and for context, when Tyson spoke about brothers, I was his co-defendant. So we and another younger brother of ours end up getting life without parole. So um but yeah, it's something that I wish I could take back. I wish I could trade. As I'm sitting here today with talking to y'all, I know I don't deserve. Um and it's something that I still struggle with even out here because as Tyson says, like we get to do a lot of things now, and he doesn't. and his family has to struggle and has to go to the cemetery every year or celebrate his birthday without him being there. You know, so that's something that like will always sit on me, regardless of how much I've changed. But I think it's also a motivating factor in the work that we get to do. So, but yeah, I think for me, in relating to that second question, um, I was just lost, like looking for an identity. And I think what happens with finding people on the corners or in the alleys at the parks and learning how to adapt to those groups and learning lingo and how to talk, how to walk, how to dress, how to talk to girls, how to make money. Like a lot of these things happen at that age that you perceive as success. So if you see these things as success, it fuels you to continue that. And for me, that's what it was. That was me looking for a way to find people that liked me, um, find that, I guess, that camaraderie that I was missing in my life at the time, and having a really, really low self-esteem in the sense that I would really do whatever it took to get the validation from those that were around me. And that led to anything in the criminal lifestyle. So
Thank you both for your honesty. Unfortunately, we had to take David's question and then we're done. But what I want you to do is if you have questions, I want you to email them to me because like I said, they're open books. I also have a lot of questions when they were here. They were here in Baltimore. I'm coming to Nashville maybe if it's not too expensive. But anyway,
hey,
I know, right? But so if I know you have questions for them, and like I said, they're very open and they can share their answers. So if you have questions that you want to get, you can email it to me. I can send it to them, and they'd be happy to answer them. But we're going to take David's question, and then we're unfortunately done at 12:50. So
Um, like, no, like, regardless of the crime,
we didn't hear that.
yep. So I'm gonna. Do you think there should have been a different way that you were reprimanded for your crime,
yeah, for the crimes or like any,
or for any,
like, yeah, basically,
or for things that they did in their lives? Like, okay,
So you're asking if the reprimand should have been different, like going.
that's what you're asking, David.
no, I'm asking like, um, think that like, not that their punishment for them, but like, if people in like the prison system, they should be recommended, it's like putting them in jail, like.
Okay. Do you think that people that are put in the prison system or that are in the prison system, should they be reprimanded differently? Would it make a change?
When you say people in the system being reprimanded, do you mean like um because I want to understand the question
Punishment.
as clear as punishment. Okay, okay.
Punishment, yeah.
So like let's use me for example. Do you think that I should have been sentenced? Like, do I think I should have been sentenced differently? Is that a fair?
Less about your sentence, more about, I think, people being punished
Like people,
in the system?
Yeah.
Okay. So in the system, already incarcerated, punishments that they get, like Dara talked about the Title 15 book, the punishments that they're getting are, do you think there should be a different way that they're reprimanded while incarcerated?
Um,
Does it make a difference?
yeah, I
I
think. Go ahead, bro.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, absolutely. I think if if people were if we'll use the word reprimanded, right? If people were reprimanded differently, in prison, say for instance, if I get in trouble for, being somewhere that I'm not supposed to be, in a place that's out of bounds, right? Where it clearly there's tape there and say you can't be here, and I'm there. And instead of getting, you know, uh, I they call it a 115. It's just like a demerit, right? Um, and it's on your profile forever, right? I think if they're able to work that off in terms of like, going to whatever self-help classes um, that are available to them, and I would also say there has to be self-help classes in prison because there aren't any, if that. But for them to, get their foot in the door, because I think for me, when I initially got into a self-help class, I was still, apprehensive. But I think the more I was exposed to it, the more that it became, for lack of a better word, normal to me. And then, the sharing and being vulnerable, like those characteristics started, to play out within me. And then, that's where the transformation occurs. The transformation doesn't occur instantaneously. It occurs gradually, and being around, that safe environment. Going back to the other comment when we're talking about environment having a huge impact. When you're in prison, prison is a pretty hard, like place to be at. So when you can find a place where you can be vulnerable and um, you know entertain those different concepts of being, like a healed human being, and I think that's where, um, if you will, reprimand should direct us.
Dara, I'm so sorry. I have to stop
Okay.
you because I can't keep them.
It's all good.
Listen, I'm gonna start, I'm gonna go over to the other classroom and when I'll open the Zoom, so as soon as you can leave this Zoom and then go to the next one. But if we could just, a big thank you to Dara. I'm gonna share a lot with you, they're, again, my two favorite people, other than my children and my husband. Okay.
Let's
so
go,
no
Thaisan.
That's right. Look, right? No class Friday, ethics in the news, ethical dilemma tonight. You have questions, email me. Thank you for, thank you.
Thank you for answering my question.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Have a wonderful day. And yay, no class Friday.
All right, I will see you in 5 minutes or 10 minutes, 10 minutes.
Katie, I just wanted to give you a heads up. I might not be able to be in the full session because
Okay.
I do have to catch a flight
Oh.
for a work conference.
Okay. Did you cut your
So
hair?
I
Is
did
your
cut my
braid
hair.
gone?
It's
I don't
gone.
want your hair anymore.
Yeah, I probably will cut out at like 10:20-ish.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
All right. Thanks. See you in a
All
bit.
right. Bye.
Bye. Yes. Say goodbye. Hi.